coming today. I appreciate your time. We've
No
known each other
problem.
only a short while, actually. We've been talking for about a month
Yeah,
now.
talking for about a month, but I've seen you about for more than 1 month. Yeah,
Oh, are you one
yeah.
of the bloggers, Mark?
So in my spare time, yeah.
In your spare time, yeah. So could you just introduce yourself to everybody and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, well, Mark McAleenan of Michaela Property Solutions. It's my wife and myself that do the business. We're property investors, basically. I wouldn't class ourselves as deal sources. We're property investors. We find deals, we find properties, we find how to investment for them, and just carry on in that format. If you ask me if I have a strategy, probably don't. It's a case of networking and numbers. If the numbers add up, fine, we'll do it. Hence, we have a couple of buy-to-lets, we have HMOs, we have commercial to resi, looking at land developments. It's just if the numbers work.
So quite a few things under your belt there, Mark.
Yeah, I'd say varied, but it's a case. It is numbers. It's absolutely. I mean, I've been in sales in packaging for, well, until Christine furloughed me last year because of COVID. I was in packaging for over 40 years, and in sales for probably the last 35 of those years. And I used to hate the terms. It's numbers and it's networking, because with most jobs that's what it is, and especially property, that's exactly what it is. It's numbers and networking. If the numbers add up, you network. Chances are you've networked with people, you know people, and you get them involved.
Excellent. And so where did you learn to do the numbers for property then?
Well, if I'm honest, I do basic numbers myself. My wife is accountant, so we married last year. But she's accountant. She's self-employed for 2.5 days, employed for 2 days. But she does all the number crunching. I do the talking and mixing with people, and she does the numbers. So I'd like to think it's a fairly good team.
That's good. Yes, I've never met her. You should bring her one Sunday so we can say hello. So
I'll do it this Sunday.
excellent. You don't really have a strategy. Do you have a gold mine area?
And again, gold mine area, I don't know, because it's we have a couple of buy-to-lets. One would be, if you had such a thing as a gold mine area, again, it's a term I don't really like to use, but because we're in southern Warwickshire, we tend to invest in Banbury and Daventry and Rugby and Coventry, just areas around us, basically. So I'd like to think we kind of stick to within 45 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. That's probably the maximum.
Mm. And so when you first started looking, is that what you did? Did you try and stick within an hour radius of your home? Is that where you started?
Yeah, well, ideally, that's what you're told in the first place. I mean, we're both currently on Mastermind 29, which is Simon Jutti's Pin Academy year long, although it's been extended to 18 months because of COVID, which is great because it's on Zoom, which most people don't like. I don't mind Zoom. And he's promised to actually, all the Zoom meetings that we have, he's promised to have live meetings. So we've got to go to the NEC, the hotels around that area, and have proper meetings. So that's why it's extended to the 18 months. Gold mine areas, we were told at the first, you need to stick to a gold mine area. I mean, I suppose to probably put down as a gold mine area is an area that you know quite well, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm honest, we moved to Southern from Leamington. We don't know the area too well, but Christine knows Rugby like the back of her hand because she used to live around that area. Banbury is just down the road. It's only 12 miles down the road. We've got to know that area very well, got to know it through estate agents, driving around, talking to locals, all that type of thing. So, but yeah, gold mine area is basically within 40 minutes, 45 minutes of us.
Hmm. And out of all those types of different projects you got buy-to-lets, HMOs, developments, what's the one that really springs to mind as something where you learnt a lot?
I would say probably the one we got on the go at the moment, the commercial to residential, because it's the first time of doing this. So secured investment for it, which is, I say, only £50,000. So, but secured that, we had a loan agreement drawn up by a paralegal as opposed to a solicitor, which was another bonus we've learned, as opposed to funny enough, I was talking to the paralegal this morning and I just said to her, it's refreshing. You actually phone somebody up and you actually get to speak to them. As opposed to a solicitor, you can wait days and maybe not even get the call back. So, but it's great. And she's a fraction of the price. She's, I think, around about £75 an hour as opposed to 220, I think, was the average for solicitors. So a fraction of the cost. But they, as knowledgeable as solicitors, it's just that they don't do the same work as represent you in court. So that's been a learning point. Yes, had the loan agreement drawn up, so I had that all agreed. I've had the builder go over a few times. Funny enough, the lady's opening up on 2 Saturdays, this Saturday and next Saturday, to get rid of existing stock, because it's quite spooky. It's been empty for 14 months. But if you go into it, you think, well, I could open this up tomorrow. It's got all the stock on the shelves. It is literally, and I've spoken to her, and she she puts us down as angels. We're just helping her out. But it's a case of, it was more or less like she was told by the post office, well, that's it. You're not doing it. You're not post office anymore. Off you go. And it's as good as that. And she said it was like that, more or less. It's the next day I had to go. Simple as that. So hence all the stock's there. So she's doing a couple of one-day sales basically to get rid of all the stock and the shop fittings, so we can get to work on it, because it's a post office downstairs, 3 bedrooms upstairs, and we're changing it to a 3-bedroom semi-detached house, which I'm just waiting for council planning on.
Yeah.
So,
and how did you come to find this post office?
well, it's through an estate agent. I had 4 viewings through an estate agent. And then on the last viewing, which happened to be in Wolford House, which is where this property is, she said, "Oh, by the way, we've got a post office. Would you like to have a look at it?" I thought, well, yeah, I'm here. I'll have a look at it.
Yeah.
So I go through that. But I'm not using estate agent now purely because it was up for, I'll give you some figures now. It was up for 219.
Mm-hmm.
It came down to 169. I was told by the estate agent they would take 150. Now, when we crunched the figures to buy it outright, we thought we could only reach 136. But I said, well, if you do it as I didn't mention the estate agent, I said, if you do it as a purchase lease option, do it this way, we can probably get to about 150, which you said is what she needs. I did put that deal. I put it on writing. I put it verbally to him. He apparently came back and said, well, no, she's not interested. She won't do it. Me being my usual persistent self, put a letter through the door anyway. I thought, because I know it's empty anyway. And she picked it up, and lo and behold, before Christmas, she found me and said, I don't even know who you are. I haven't even heard about your deal.
The agent never.
So that didn't even happen. So, and then I went further on to the discussions to say, well, he said you'd take 150. She said, that's not it. I need 160 to get me out of trouble. So, okay. And the trouble she was still having to pay loans and business rates on it, which were about £1,000 a month.
Right.
So we've come to the conclusion, or come to a deal now, and we've had the heads of terms signed, waiting for solicitors to get their solicitors again, waiting for them to get their input in. But everything's signed up to do it an assisted sale. So, i.e., she'll get her 160. We'll do the work to change it in a 3-bedroom semi and sell it for 240. I've already got a buyer involved because it's one of my tenants from HMO in Banbury. He knows the place Wolford House like the back of his hand. Right. And he said it's lovely, and he's been out to see it, and he's put his 2 pence in to say, well, I want this, I want that, I want it. That's okay. We've got to do it anyway.
So for those,
so everybody's happy, hopefully.
For those that are watching, what you just said is really complicated. So let's try and explain it a bit simpler. Yeah. So you found
it sounded simple in my head. Go on.
Yeah, that's good because you've been doing it that long. So you agreed with the seller that you would buy it for the 160. That's what she needed, and you were going to rent it off of her to cover her costs up until the point.
Well, I'm going to pay. I'm not. Well, I suppose you want to class it as rent. I'm going to pay her the £1,000 a month. So the builder reckons it takes 3-4 months. I've allocated 6 months, so I'll pay her £6,000 basically. Yeah. Just so she doesn't have the headache or the complications of trying to find the money. She can concentrate on going out and finding a proper job, so to speak, which is what she wants to do.
Does that
so that alleviates? Say again, sorry.
Does that come off the 160 or is it separate? Is it an addition?
Yes, it comes off the 160 at the end. Yeah. So that just alleviates her headache of having to find the money per month. So I said, well, I'll do that. I'll pay that. That's fine. I'm paying her solicitor fees as well.
Okay.
Because it's a slightly difficult deal, but I can sort that out. I have in touch with good solicitors who can do that, and then this paralegal will do the other side of the deal, the assisted sale side of it.
So your paperwork says you're not actually ever going to buy it, are you? You've got control of it so that you can refurb it and then she will sell it to the new buyer at the top price, and you'll make that cut in between the price you've
And
already.
we'll make the in between, yeah. We'll make the other in between minus all the costs. Yeah. So it's
Fantastic.
assisted sale. So
Yeah.
hence we save on the stamp duty. And now we've saved on estate agents because I don't need to include an estate agent at the end to sell it. So,
Yeah. No, that's amazing how you brought that all together.
and she's perfectly happy because she's getting a sale out of it, because it's been there for about 14 months, and the estate agents. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of estate agents, but whether he's done his utmost to try and sell it, I don't know. But she's pleased. She knows it's going to go in about 6 months.
And because you originally heard about it through the agent, does the agent still get their fee, or is that cut out now?
I offered on the original deal when I offered this. I didn't say purchase lease option, but when I offered this kind of deal to him, I said, "Well, you'll be paid. You'll be paid within probably 2-3 weeks." Which I don't know if you're aware of it. Usually they get payment in about 3 months.
Right.
But he still wasn't privy to it, and it was at her decision. We had a few Zoom calls, and I have met her since, but we had a few Zoom calls, and her decision was to get in touch with estate agents and take the property off the market. So she hasn't had to pay him. It's her responsibility, not mine. So
Yeah. No, that's good if she doesn't have to, because that isn't really fair.
yeah, I mean, she's a nice lady. She felt a bit guilty about that, but because she said, "Oh, she said they've tried," but I said, "Well," I was being argumentative. I said, "Well, they haven't tried, have they? Because I put a deal to him, and he didn't even tell you what it was." So,
Yeah, that's true. How many other deals came to him and he never said to her?
well, this is it. Yeah. Although it's their obligation, I don't think they have. I don't think they do. Some of them. I
Yeah.
could be wrong.
Yeah. And so this woman, this person that you're buying it off of, did any other further leads come through her? Because I'm assuming that once you do a deal with somebody, it may spring to mind that they actually know other people in similar
Well,
circumstances.
this is it. I mean, I don't want to tar everybody with the same brush, but she's an Asian lady who knows a lot of people, and that's that is the first thing she did. She said, "I'll go back to this agent and say, look, this is the deal that worked. He suggested to you, but you didn't tell me about it. But it does work." Because his argument was, he said, "I don't think that'll work." Now, I would have liked for him at least to give her the option so she makes the choice. But he's made that choice himself, and he said, "I don't think it'll work." So her first thing is, and I don't know whether she'll do it or whether she should do it, is she'll go into the stage and say, "Look, it's worked. It's done. I'm done it."
Yeah.
But in answer to your question, are there other people out there? That's the whole point of networking, isn't it? So,
I think the worst thing about the agent is not necessarily that he didn't pass it on, but he lied and told you that he did,
yeah,
because that's worse, isn't it? Um, okay.
it is worse. But I kind of, unfortunately, I've been doing it a while, so I kind of expect it.
Yeah, okay. So how many of those letters did you give out in that round to end up with that one post office?
Just the one to her, because it was a letter saying, "Well, this is the deal. Get in touch with me, and please phone me so we can talk whatever we can do through." Because
Okay.
I didn't know at that time that he hadn't told her, but I obviously found out subsequently that
Yeah.
that's the information that she hadn't. So, but
Um,
with letters, I mean, we send letters that we don't do. Estate agents really. I've got a couple of estate agents in Banbury, which I do go and check occasionally, but most of it's off direct to vendor letters, landlord letters, which is what we do. We do that on a regular basis. We have four key areas around us, and we're on probably about our seventh or eighth motion, i.e. we do an area every 5-6 weeks.
yeah.
And everything we've got a 5-6 bed HMO deal, which came off a landlord letter. We got the HMO in Banbury, which came off a landlord letter. The post office came off a letter. So they do work.
Fantastic. You've mentioned networking a few times. So how many days a week are you on Zoom calls networking with new people? Every day?
Every day, really, yeah, because my wife, because I was in packaging, I had a packaging business. I've still got the packaging business because I still keep in touch with a few people. But she furloughed me because of what went on last year. So she furloughed me from packaging. So I've just been doing property full time. As of last year, I was doing it full time. So my days are spent. I'll show you. My days are spent having a list of things to do, a list of people to call,
Yeah.
loads of Zoom calls, loads of networking. And the paralegal was found by, funny enough, a guy I had a Zoom call with who was a financial advisor on SAS pensions. Now, I
Mhm.
already had my slash pension sorted, and we were investing in our third opportunity in South Wales. So we've got that sorted. But when I mentioned about the purchase lease option contract, we're having a problem finding a solicitor who can do it because they're busy. He said, I'll get you in touch with somebody. And that's what it was. So that was networking. He put me in touch with somebody. I've had Zoom calls with her, and we've sorted some deals out.
And does she work for a bigger firm or does she work for herself?
She works for a firm. Yeah, fresh law. I think the company's Fresh Law Firm.
I
So.
was going to say, because now you found out that bit of nugget information, she probably could actually go work for herself because there'd be lots of property people wanting
Well,
to.
she probably could, but then I mean, the scenario, as she said herself, I mean, with the purchase lease option, she can do, and if you Google it, if you Google what's the difference between a paralegal and a solicitor, it's basically the paralegal can do all the work the solicitor does, apart from can't really sign things off. So that's why she's in a firm of solicitors. She's a paralegal,
Sign it.
but she can get the things more or less up to the crunch point and then just get it signed off by a solicitor.
Yeah. Okay.
Saves you a lot of money.
Excellent. Cool. So do you want to tell people what you're working on now, or do you want to keep that to yourself because it's, oh no, that is what you're working on now, the post office.
Well, that's the main thing I'm working on at the moment, funny enough, because we had the loan agreement drawn up yesterday, actually, and it's signed today. So that should all go through. And I'm waiting for council, basically, as we say, council just to give the okay to go ahead, which the architect and the planner said it should be okay. Because the post office that we've got with the flat above is on a corner of a street. And on the other corner of the street, dead opposite, is number 10, which used to be the post office. So the post office number 10, it moved to number 12, and now it's moved down the high street into a chemist.
Mm.
So
Can
so
I?
it's set a precedent, really, and it's out on the limb. It's not in the high street, so it's out on the limb now. So I hate to say there shouldn't be a problem, but there shouldn't be a problem.
Jinxed it then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In terms of, you might not want to use this term power team, but so you've got your architect and you just mentioned somebody else. Are they people that you use regularly, or does it depend where the sites are that you find that
People,
they find new
it's
teams?
people all be involved with the networking. I haven't used them regularly because this commercial to resi is the first plot I've done. But the building team, i.e., the builder, the plasterers, the tilers, are all doing my HMOs in Banbury anyway. So they're on site, and I will move them over to the post office to do that when the planning goes through.
Mm.
But the architect, I mean, I have known the architect and the planner for off and on for about two years through networking, through property events. So hence got in touch with him and said, oh, I've got a project now, I'm ready. He said, all right, okay, fine. So, but he has a good reputation. I know he's done lots of work for lots of people I know because of networking. So I know these people, I know the quality of his work. So it's all good.
At what point, because obviously you were striking the deal with the seller and then you were going to apply for planning to see if you could do what you wanted to do. At what point and what contracts or what paperwork do you get signed before you look at planning? Because there's always a concern that the seller might just decide to not sell to you and use that planning information for themselves.
Well, we went the route of getting the heads of terms signed by the lady. And in fairness, I suppose it's a little bit of due diligence and experience of the seller thinking, well, I'm not, it sounds disrespectful. It's not meant to be. But I'm thinking, well, that's the type of thing she wouldn't go and do because I don't think she'd know where to go for a start. So it's a case of we had the heads of terms agreed between ourselves. We met her a few times and also Zoomed because of what's going on. Had it signed, we had it signed by witnesses. So we went the route of getting the heads of terms agreed in first in place, which I suppose psychologically in her mind, she's thinking, right, I've sold the property. He's going to sort you all out. Because that's what I said. I'll do all the solicitors. I'll do all the work. You haven't got to do anything. You just sit there and just take the money at the end. No problem. And then we got the planners and architects involved after that.
Now I know why you were asking for a second legal team. It's because you were paying for both the legal teams, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that only just clicked.
I've got the one lined up because believe it or not, there's not many solicitors. I don't think there's that many solicitors in the country. I'll probably be corrected, but that I mean we on our list of mastermind paperwork in Pin Academy. There's a list of 4 solicitors. Now she wanted to use the other one I couldn't use because he hadn't got time, and the other 2, one was too expensive, and then the other one hadn't got time either. So that's my 4 out. So that's why I was asking, well, do you know anybody else? But again, it's going back to networking. So I managed to find somebody through somebody else.
Mm. Excellent. In terms of doing the mastermind, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, part of it is that you work with people that are quite new in the industry as well. You're to help people as well, aren't you, on their journey? Is that
Well,
right?
it's a bit of both, actually. I mean, on the mastermind course, we had Simon Zucci ring us. I mean, I know Simon Zucci, sounds like I'm just name dropping now, I don't mean to. So I know Simon Zucci very well anyway, and Andy Haynes. And those two guys run the mastermind workshop. And he did say, funny enough, last April, he said, well, there's a few, because I'm one of those thinking, well, if you have no experience whatsoever in property, why would you fork out quite a lot of money to do a mastermind course? So I would have thought you'd probably need a bit of experience, and he was kind of on board with that. But then I've just found out from MM30 that there's still people coming into it who have no property whatsoever, no experience whatsoever.
Mm.
So I don't know. Jury's out on that one. It's entirely up to him. He knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's talking. He's been doing it for 25 years, so he should know what he's talking about.
But it sounds like from what you're saying that it was definitely worth the investment to join the mastermind.
Absolutely, definitely. I mean, yeah, even now, I mean, I had a talk with my coach, because we get a coach and a mentor on this. So you have a coach who calls you every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. So I had a call with her, funny enough, this morning, and she was saying, well, over the 12 months, do you think you've achieved what you should have achieved? And if I'm honest, probably yes, because you look back and you think, well, I've got the portfolio, I've got that, I've got the post office, I've got probably close on £3 million worth of property, which if I look back, there's no way on earth I would have known how to do assisted sale. I wouldn't have known how to do anything creative, because I was the old school thinking, well, you need to deposit, you need to do this. That's the way to do it. But there isn't. There are so many routes out there to do.
Yeah, you just what I find really interesting about you is you've done all these amazing things that you've just shared with us, but you don't look that excited about it. You're like, yeah, I've done this and I've done. You don't even smile that often. There you go.
I've got to say, I should tell my face to get excited sometimes. Yeah. Well, it's just the way I am, I suppose. I'm just laid back and I love absorbing information. I love talking to people. So it's what it's all about. And the interesting, I mean, there's another interesting point. I just had another thought. Interesting point of the purchase lease option. We've got the single purchase lease option with the guy in Banbury. But that was a case of purchase lease option I'd never heard of. Commercial on the side of it, they've had it for about 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
But it's just purchase lease options are coming into residential more now. But then there's a case of, when I talked to one of the questions, there's many questions, but one of the questions from the vendor was, well, that's okay. You have the deal for 3 years and you buy it in 3 years, but it's going to be worth more in 3 years. How do I get around that? Now, apart from going further down the line of his capital gains tax, because he's had it since 1992, which that would have been about £50,000. That put him off. But I said, well, I've had it drawn into the contract as well, having talked to a solicitor, that he gets 10% of any uplift over this period. So we've agreed the price of 300,000. If, for instance, we get a valuation when we do go to buy it and it's 320, 330, he'll get 10% of that as well.
Okay.
Which is great, because I get 90% increase anyway, and he gets 10% payment. So he's happy as well. But the capital gains thing was the big thing that struck it for him, because he talked to his accountant and said, well, you'll have about a £50,000 tax bill. So if he leases it for me over 3 years from me, he'll have about £37,000 towards that.
Yeah, I must admit that's one of the things that I don't really know about, all the capital gains tax and things. I've only got one buy to let myself at the moment, so quite new.
Yeah, we've all got to start somewhere. We had 2 buy-to-lets to start, and that's how we started. But now we know all these strategies and all these ways of doing things. You think, well, why don't I do them?
Yeah, no, brilliant. Okay, I won't take up too much more of your time. I know you've got that big long list that you've got to get through. If you had to give one big nugget of information to any newbies out there getting into property, what would that be?
Well, funny enough, I was talking to a lady yesterday in London. I think she was obviously Chinese, but she's just started. And I said, and she said exactly the same. What do you do? Where'd you start? But I mean, she's in London, so it's quite difficult, I presume, to get property in London. I mean, Simon Zucci always say, well, you can rent it. Okay, it's a little bit more difficult to buy, but renting should be easy. So, but I've said to her, because she said, well, up north. Well, north's quite big. I said, you need to narrow down your place, your gold mine area. You just said it. You need to narrow down an area that you want to concentrate on, get to know it, and then it's down to the numbers and networking. It's as simple as that. Say simple, it takes time. You know, it takes time. So,
Cool. Thank
but
you.
that's what it is. It's numbers and networking. And I'm Christine's accountant, and she hates me saying numbers, but it is. If the numbers add up, you just do the deal. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, it's good. I now feel even more encouraged to that when I get my next lead, Mark, I'm coming to you to try and you can help me work it out how it works.
You got my number, you got my email. Just call me.
Excellent. All right then. Well, thank you so much again, and good luck with the rest of the day. And congratulations, you signed your papers today. You said so.
Yeah, it should be tonight. Should be and the money transfer tonight. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again,
that's
smart,
I mean,
smart
that's the bonus of being in it a couple of years as well. It's a first investor, so
yeah.
you will run out of money. So as we did.
Yeah, exactly. We need other people to work with, right? It's all about teams.
Other people's money. Yeah.
Just their money. We don't need them. Just their money.
Well, this is I mean, the investors come on board. That's exactly what he said. He said, "I've got cash, but I haven't got time.
Right.
Now I've got time. I haven't got the cash. So fine. Marriage made in heaven."
Is he purchasing the property with you, or is he just want a guaranteed return?
Just a guaranteed return. We're doing a guarantee. I mean, he's in property, unfortunately. We were looking about 5-6%, but I think we've had to push it out to 12%, which is still fine. We can live with that. We put it in figures, numbers again. We put it in the numbers.
As long as it stacks, right? Then you're fine.
Yep. Yep.
All right then, mate. You have a lovely day, and I'll see you Sunday.
And you. All right.
Right.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.